Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something really thought-provoking.
Yeah. What have we got?
It's a diary entry from April 12th, 2025 by someone named Rodri.
Okay, Rodri's diary.
Interesting. And it's not just, daily stuff. It's a proper deep dive into a specific Bible story.
Oh, right. Which one?
Numbers chapter 13, verses 1 through 24. The story of the 12 spies.
Ah, yes. Going into Canaan, the promised land. I know the one.
Exactly. And that's our mission today, really, to unpack what Rodri gets from this.
Right, like how does he connect this ancient story to, well, to us, to facing opportunities, challenges?
Yeah, and he touches on this idea of, is it just spying or is it exploring with faith? It's a neat distinction.
I like that. And this idea of bringing back fruit, what does that actually mean for us?
Good question. So our main source here is Rodri's diary entry itself. He quotes the text, interprets it.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get into it. Where does it start?
It kicks off with the instruction from God to Moses. Pretty direct.
Right, Numbers 13, verse 2. God says, basically, send leaders, one from each tribe, to check out Canaan, to spy out the land.
But Rodri adds a layer here, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
About why God allows this.
He does. Rodri suggests maybe the Israelites weren't totally convinced. Like, they heard the promise, but they needed to see the land's richness, its reality. They lacked certainty.
That makes sense. Sometimes you need proof. And what about that term spy out? Rodri mentions the original Hebrew.
Yeah, he brings up that it's not just casual looking. It means scouting, exploring, but it can even carry a sense of military reconnaissance, like checking out the enemy situation.
So it wasn't just a sightseeing tour.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And Rodri's point is interesting. God obviously knows it's there, right?
Right.
So Rodri sees it as a test. Are they going to look with human eyes, see the obstacles, the potential conflict, or look with faith, remembering God's promise?
That framing is crucial. How you look determines what you see, in a way.
Exactly. And who gets sent? God is specific about that, too.
Yeah, leaders. Rodri uses the term puis, but he has a thought about who these leaders actually were.
Yeah, he speculates they might not have been the older established general.
More like younger guys.
Possibly. Younger, quicker, maybe more adventurous, courageous. The kind of people trusted within their families to be their eyes on this mission.
Acting as representatives for their whole tribe.
Precisely. And Moses lists their names. Rodri picks up on one detail there, the renaming.
Ah, Hosea becoming Joshua. What did Rodri make of that?
Well, he notes the meanings. Hosea is salvation, but Joshua is Yahweh is salvation.
Oh, interesting.
Rodri thinks Moses, maybe guided by God, saw Joshua's future role, knew he'd be central to actually entering the land and seeing God's saving power. It's like a bit of foreshadowing.
That's powerful. And as Rodri points out, that faith element becomes critical later.
Absolutely. Because only two of them, Caleb and Joshua, hold on to that faith after seeing the land.
The other 10, they see the Mount Ebot.
But they get overwhelmed by the inhabitants' perceived strength, the giants.
So the choice of leaders, their inherent perspectives really mattered.
It set the stage for the conflicting reports they eventually bring back.
Okay, so Moses sends them off. Does he give them specific things to look for?
Oh, definitely. Rodri highlights this from verses 18 to 20. It's quite detailed.
Like what?
First, the land itself. Is it good? Bad? What's its nature?
Okay, basic assessment.
Then the people. Are they strong or weak? Many or few? Assess the population.
Makes sense. What else?
Their settlements. Are they living in open camps, easy targets, or fortified cities? How defended are they?
Right, strategic intel.
Exactly. And finally, the resources. Is the soil fertile or poor? Are there trees, timber?
Wow, okay. So it was a really thorough mission brief.
Absolutely comprehensive. They needed the full picture.
And Rodri mentions their route. They covered a lot of ground, right?
They did. From the wilderness of Zin in the south, way up north to Rehob, near Hamath. A significant stretch.
So they got a good overview. And he mentions specific encounters.
Yes, like in Hebron. That's where they saw the Anakites.
Ah, the giants. Ahima, Sheshai, Talmai.
Exactly. Descendants of Anak, known for being huge. You can just imagine how intimidating that must have been.
Yeah, that visual alone could sow doubt. It makes you think about facing things that seem insurmountable in your own life.
It really does. But then there's the contrast. The Valley of Eshcol.
The grapes?
The grapes. Rodri emphasizes that image. One cluster so massive it took 2 men to carry it on a pole, plus pomegranates, figs.
Talk about tangible proof of abundance.
Right. It vividly showed the land's incredible potential.
And Moses had actually told them to bring back fruit, hadn't he?
He did. Rodri quotes it. Be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land. He even notes the timing first ripe grapes, around July.
Why do you think Moses specifically asked for fruit? What's Rodri's take?
Rodri thinks God wanted something concrete for the people back in the camp. Something that they could see, maybe even taste.
To make the promise real.
Exactly. To fuel their desire, their belief, that this amazing land was really theirs for the taking, a blessing from God. It wasn't just talk.
And Rodri sees a symbol in that.
He does. He suggests it's like us bringing back evidence of life, of potential blessings from our own explorations, our own promised lands.
To encourage ourselves and others.
Yeah, having something real to point to, saying, look, this is possible. This is what's waiting. What kind of fruit could that be for us today, I wonder?
That's a good question. Testimonies. Small successes. Signs of progress.
Could be all of those, which leads nicely into how Rodri applies all this.
Right, he sees parallels everywhere, doesn't he? In personal life, work, church.
He calls them our present-day promised lands, areas we're called to explore.
And he says we should be like the faithful spies, Caleb and Joshua.
Essentially, yes. Explore with faith, acknowledge the difficulties, the Anakites, the giants in our path, but don't let them overshadow the potential abundance.
He also mentions something about our internal state, right? How our own mindset can be the biggest block.
Oh, definitely. He stresses that inner weakness, that lack of faith, can blind us to the blessings that are actually there. It's not always the external giant. Sometimes the giant is inside.
That really hits home. Did he share a specific example?
He did. He talked about a recent online gathering focused on discipleship. He framed that whole initiative as a kind of promised land for spiritual growth.
Okay.
And he observed that people there, even while facing their own huge personal challenges, their giants, they could still catch the vision. They could see the potential fruit of discipleship.
So seeing that potential despite the obstacles.
Exactly. And that experience seemed to really energize Rodri. It reinforced the numbers story for him.
How so?
He started seeing his own role sharing this vision for discipleship as being like, well, like Moses sending out spies, or maybe like Joshua and Caleb encouraging the people.
Trying to inspire faithful exploration.
Right. And his hope, he writes, is that the people who engage will come back with their own fruit.
Their own stories of growth.
Yeah, testimonies, evidence, to then encourage the wider community to step into that promised land too. It becomes a positive cycle.
That's a really hopeful application.
Yeah.
So wrapping this up, what's the core takeaway from Rodri's reflection on this?
I think it's about how we approach the unknown, the new opportunities, the challenges. It's not just about logically assessing the risks and rewards.
Although that's important.
Of course, practical assessment matters. But Rodri urges us to blend that with a fundamental faith, a belief in the potential for good, for growth, for abundance, even when things look tough.
Like the spies were meant to do, explore with courage.
Yes. See the giants, acknowledge them, but don't let them paralyze you. Actively look for the fruit, the signs of blessing.
And recognize that finding the fruit isn't just for you, it can inspire others.
Precisely. It enriches you and it can ripple outwards.
So that leaves us with a final thought, I suppose, a question for everyone listening.
Yeah.
What are the promised lands in your life right now? You know, those areas that feel full of potential, but also maybe full of giants. Good question. And how could you choose to explore them differently? Maybe with a bit more of that Caleb and Joshua spirit, looking intentionally for the fruit, however small, that could encourage you and maybe someone else too.
Lots to chew on there.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.